What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with the review for Ready to Love Season 7, Episode 4. The episode is titled Advocate Sue, you guys. So before we go ahead and get into this episode, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, do me a solid favor and stop taking me out in this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and also by turning on your post notifications. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss Ready to Love, shall we? All right, guys, so this episode, we open up, so we see Blake, Blue, Mark Anthony, and I believe Tony. I could be wrong. So they're out fishing. They were out talking about the ladies that they have, connections, the stronger connections with. You guys know how I feel about when they always talk about who's my top and who's in my top. Y'all know I hate that more than anything, right? So while they're out fishing, Tommy joins them. Hey. So I've decided to get all of you sexist singles together and I'm gonna have a yacht party. So yeah, Tommy's gonna have a yacht party, and at the end of this, one of these ladies won't be leaving the yacht party with us. So the men have the men this week are deciding who is going home, right? It's the men's week to send a lady home. But you guys know that they have the twist that if all the guys unanimously come together and decide that they want to keep one of these women, then that won't happen. There will be no elimination this week. All of the women will stay, and then we'll just move forward, right? So, before we get to the yacht party, we see two dates. So we see Mark Anthony. So Mark Anthony sat down with Jeffrey, and I think Jeffrey is a beautiful woman, right? But when I look at Jeffrey, I'm sorry, her interviews, when it shows how old she is, it says she's 32, and I'm like, you're 32, and I'm 33, and you look older than I do. No shade to you, but you just look older than 32. And then her voice is so annoying as well. So I really want, for one thing, for Jeffrey, I want her to stop pretending like she is this country girl, because we saw it last week that you ain't that girl that you want to keep playing like you are, right? So Mark Anthony asked Jeffrey, like, what is she looking for? And she says, basically she's looking for a provider. I was like, okay, I don't have an issue with that, right? She's probably been taking care of herself and her kids for a long time, so she wants somebody to come in and be that provider for her. Nothing wrong with that, right? So then, she asked him, well, can you see yourself dating a woman with children, having a blended family? Well, technically it wouldn't be a blended family because he has no kids. But she says, he's from a blended family, so it would be no issue for him. So we'll see where they go, right? So next up we see Blue. So Blue went out on a date with Marcia, and I will say Marcia is a beautiful woman. I think what it is for me with Marcia is the curly wig that she wears, it like I said before, it gives Cowardly Lion. And I just want her to just lose a few bundles. That's all you got to do, Marcia. Lose a few bundles. But other than that, she's a very beautiful woman. So they sit down, and Marcia is telling Blue how she's not an outdoors girl. She doesn't like to go fishing. She don't want to do hiking, camping, none of that stuff. And that's fine. You'll have some women who are not interested in that kind of stuff. You'll have women who are not those type of people, right? They're not outdoorsy. But he friend-zoned her because of that. I'm like, is that a big deal? Because I didn't think it was a big deal. Let me know if you guys think it was a big deal. I guess it's not a big deal for me, because in my life and my family, even with my family and my friends, I know I have some friends and family, like the women in my family or my friend, like my best friend. She's not an outdoors girl. I'm an outdoors guy. I like being outside. I like getting dirty, having fun, just doing whatever. And my mother, I'm pointing like you guys can see this picture of my mom, but my mom was an outdoors girl, right? My mom, my mother loved to fish. That was one of her things that she would do. We would go to a lake and you leave her outside, she's gonna fish and she's gonna come back with the fish. And she's one of the women. And an interesting thing about my mother is she loved to fish, but she wasn't one of those people who, clean fish. My grandmother was that person. My grandmother was the one that was clean the fish. My mother was the one that would go, go fishing, right? So, and I have a lot of people like that in my family, but I mean, it's not a big deal. You'll find more women that are not outdoors women that don't like those kind of things than you will that you. And I don't want to say this, but most times when you find women who are, and not all of them, because like I said, my mom loved to fish, but she wasn't a tomboy. She wasn't a tomboy. My mom was actually very girly and very feminine. She, when she was younger, she would get her nails done, her hair done, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I feel like when it comes to women who are like that, you probably got to find a country girl. And I don't know that any of these women are country, besides the fact that what's her name wants us to believe she's country, she ain't. So let's pause here and move forward, you guys. So we get to the yacht party, and Tommy has to let us know that brother Andre will not be joining us for the rest of the show. He has he's removed himself from the process because he had COVID. And I was like, okay, I mean, unless Andre was in the hospital, I could see it. But if he had COVID, Jesus, because I mean, now they've gotten lax on how long you should quarantine, right? Because I know at first it was what wasn't it 2 weeks at at one point? Then it got down to 5 days. I don't even know what it is now, right? Because you don't hear people talk about COVID as much as they once did in the beginning of the pandemic. You don't hear much about COVID anymore, but it's still around. I want you people to know that, right? So yeah, Andre has dropped out of the process because he has COVID. Get well soon, Andre. So we see Cynthia and Anthony talking to each other, right? And it's so crazy. I forgot all about Anthony until this episode, and I was looking at Anthony. I was like, sir, you do realize we have on two different pinks, right? Your pants are a light pink and your shirt is a hot pink, but you know what? That's neither here nor there. So Anthony and Cynthia, they hit it off with each other, right? Because Anthony has a daughter and Cynthia has her kids, right? And they hit it off with each other, and they were just, talking about their children and talking about, just life in general. If I have to say for right now, because things can change as we get deeper into the season, right? But as of right now, I actually do believe that Anthony is one of the guys that, from just what I see so far, Anthony is one of the guys that I can say that I do like. The guys that they've made made pretty much vocal, I don't like most of them. I'm not too fond on Blake. I'm definitely not fond of Tony. DeMario, we'll talk about DeMario in just a minute. But yeah, some of these guys I'm just not too keen on just right now, right? So we see Blake. So Blake pulled Susu to the side. So Susu gives me very much pick me vibes, right? That's all I get from Sue is I'm a pick me. Because Blake pulled her to the side and gave her, I don't know if it was a watch or a bracelet, but he gave her a gift and she was like, oh my God. And I was like, girl, last week you got so excited about him giving you a nickname, Susu. Now you're excited about this gift. You don't realize that maybe he is trying to buy your affection. You don't get that? He's trying to buy you. But okay, Sue, I'm gonna let Sue have you, right? He's thanking Sue for giving him the heads up on the last eliminate about Jeffrey. We'll talk about Jeffrey in just a little bit, right? So then next up we see Morgan. So Morgan is having a conversation with Tony. And Morgan in her interview, Morgan is fine as hell. Morgan is fine. So Morgan in her interview, and I was like, finally somebody sees it. But I don't think she sees what we see as the viewing public. I think Morgan is noticing that Tony is not as attentive to her as she would prefer. But I also don't think that she sees what we, like I said, she doesn't see what we see when it comes to Tony. Because I've said it plenty, I said it last week's review and I'm gonna say it again in this week's review. I said last week's review that Tony is like a chameleon, right? And it showed up more in this episode. With Tony, I think Tony molds himself, he molds and shape shifts into whatever the woman wants from, whatever he feels like the woman wants or needs from him. And I just see it. It's a game for me, right? So let's pause here and move forward. All right, you guys. So you guys remember last season they played that messy game of, go kiss your strongest connection. Well, Tommy left looked like a little fish jar. So they take these little notes out of the fish jar I know Corvea took one out, and hers was like, "Who do you think is the best kisser here?" And she said Mark Anthony. Um, Mark Anthony took one out, and he was to give his strongest connection a foot rub, and he ended up giving Corvea a foot rub. No, 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 it wasn't Corvea. It was Jeffrey, and it was Mercedes a foot rub. Then Morgan got one, and they asked her who are the sexiest people there. She said Lyndon, who was sitting next to her. Tony didn't like. He was looking like, oh, you gonna say him? So she said Lyndon. She said Marcia, and she said my damn self. I was like, girl, you better say your damn self, because girl, you fine as she fine. So then I know Jeffrey got one, and it said to kiss her strongest connection. So she kissed Mark Anthony, right? When she kissed Mark Anthony, what's his name again? Demario, he felt the way about it. I'm like, dude, you guys are dating multiple people. Like, Demario is, oh my God, you know what I just thought about? So Demario, the fact that she kissed him is very much so giving Kayla and old boy from last season. Remember when Kayla gave the one guy, I forgot what his name was, when Kayla gave old boy a kiss on the cheek? That's what this is giving. So yeah. So then we see Corvea. So Corvea, I think I might have missed a card. If I did, you can leave it in the comment section, right? So we see Corvea and Demario talking, right? So can I be honest with you guys? I wasn't listening. I know that he was talking about his dad and she was talking about her upbringing. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard her talk about she came from, not the best living situations. So I guess it kind of makes sense why she brings up finances, but I do wish that this was the first time that I've heard Corvea have a conversation and it did not center around money or a job. And I like that. If she takes that out of the equation, because it's not a bad thing to mention money or whatnot, right? But I just don't like the way she does it sometimes, right? So next up we have Blake. So Blake went over there where Jeffrey and Mark Anthony were sitting, right? So he asked Mark Anthony, could he pull Jeffrey to the side? And he said, cool. So they went to the side and talked, right? So Blake is still in his feelings about what Pick Me Susu told him, right? So he wants, he's bringing it up to Jeffrey. So Jeffrey is like, tell me what was told to you. He was like, I'm not going to say that. If I was Jeffrey, I would be like, okay, I'm going to ask you one more time. Can you tell me what was said? I'm not going to mention that to you. Okay, well, Blake, you have a good day. Because I'm not going to sit here and play, because that's really what it was. It was a game with Blake. Like, I would have been like, I'm not going to sit here and play this game, Blake. Like, you telling me your feelings were hurt. If you tell me what was said, then I'll be like, oh, yeah, I said that, but I didn't say it in a malicious way or anything like that. So that he kept going back and forth, and I'm like, girl, get up and walk away from him. Like, I wouldn't have done it. But she eventually did get up, but she got up a lot later than I would have gotten up. I would have got up. I would have asked him twice. I would have said, what was said? I'm not going to tell you that. Blake, you're telling me I hurt your feelings by something that I said that came back to you. Please give me the opportunity to clear it up what it was that was said to you. I'm not going to say that. Okay, sir. Well, you have a good one. I'm going over here and I ain't got to listen to it no more. So let's pause here and move forward, you guys. So next up we see Jonique, what is her name, you guys? Is it Jonique or Jonique? I can't pronounce it. Jonique, and Tony, right? They talking. And I said that as if it was three people. So she was talking about her last relationship with her ex and she broke down crying. And this, like I've already said it about Tony, that Tony basically shapeshifts. But this particular moment right here was really the solidifier for me, where I was like, yeah, Tony's not what he wants to portray himself to be. Tony is all about games. I feel like Tony wants to make it to the end of the process just to say that he made it to the end. I don't think he has any true intentions with any of the women, but you guys tell me how you feel about that, and I don't care about Tony. So Jeffrey went back over to talk to Susu about that conversation that she had with, the conversation that she just recently had with Mr. Blake, right? So then Pick Me Susu, girl, it was the Pick Me and Susu jumped out in this particular moment when she kept defending Blake. I was like, girl, shut up. Shut up. You are definitely a pick me, right? So I had to rewatch the episode, you guys, and I actually fell asleep on the episode. But I think I know what happened next. Tommy, I could be wrong. No, I'm right. So after this, Tommy got the men together so that the men could discuss who they are feeling, who they're not feeling. A lot of the men said they're not feeling Corvea. I think it was Corvea, Marcia, and Jeffrey. Those were the main three names that I heard, right? Now, the other question I always wonder, how many days have they been doing this process? Because the way that old boy over here with the eyes, what's his name? Demario, the way he was going so hard about them using a lifeline, it was just like, dude, it has to be a unanimous decision. And if y'all use this lifeline, let's say y'all get further down the line and it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess, but we don't know if they're gonna use the lifeline or not because they left us on a cliffhanger with the bottom two being Corvea and Jeffrey. But that's really all I got for Rated to Love, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode down in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and share the video, you guys. And until the next time, please stay safe out there. Stay safe out there, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next one.